My name is Zuleika. You can call me Zule or Z. People call me either one. I'm from Arizona. I grew up there up until I left for college, and now I live in Miami. But yeah, I was raised by Mexican parents, so I kind of grew up in both Mexico and the US. I just started making music. Pretty excited. So I've always kind of liked disco. I was really influenced by like disco by my dad, and then now I've started to do like more tech house, more house. So I noticed I'm doing like more tech house, but like it has like some funk and like disco influences. So I really like Miami. I think Miami, like I said, I feel like it's its own thing. A lot of people think it's doesn't even pertain to the U.S. Like Miami is like its own thing. It's even like it could be considered Latin America in a way, but in the U.S. I love that everyone here speaks Spanish. I grew up in a small town where everyone spoke Spanish, so I like that I'm bilingual, so I like that I can practice both. I've really enjoyed playing here. I think one of my favorite places to play is probably Joya Beach. I think it's just a really cool daytime vibe. I think people can go and like, I don't know, just hang out like during the day, and then it goes on until at night. And I don't know, that's one of my favorite spots. And one of my favorite venues, we were talking about it earlier, like anytime Andrew's Skate Club, like whenever they put on an event, it's really cool. I like all the venues that they pick. Obviously Space is like really cool. Dante's, I think Dante is also really dope. And yeah, I mean, I think places are always popping up. Oh, Jolene's not. Yeah, I've talked about this a lot. Like, it's very different, and I feel like you don't really see it until you kind of live in both. I mean, Arizona is kind of like the Southwest, but it's still like more on the western part of the U.S. I think the West is very like EDM influence, which is how I kind of got into the scene. I loved going to festivals, and EDM was like my first introduction to like the house scene and everything, and like the communities. And my brother moved out here like 2 years ago, and he was, or no, 4 years ago. And he was like, you should come out here. Like, there's a lot of opportunity. And I was seeing how the scene here was very influenced by like, well, I think Miami has like its own like scene. It's very like European, like it has like some European like house influences, but it's also, you know, there's a lot of Latin communities here, so there's a lot of like Latin culture. So I think just like the mesh of both, I was like, oh, I really like this scene here. So hence I just came over here. So yeah. Yeah, so that track was really fun to make. I'd been working with my mentor at the time for a while, and I had just been to Medellin, and I heard this track, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'd totally forgotten about this really old reggaeton track. And yeah, so when I came back, I told him, I was like, hey, I have this idea, like, can you help me like chop it up, or like, how can we do this? And he was like, oh yeah, like, because I had never done an edit before. So he was like, oh yeah, you would just get the acapella. So yeah, I ended up kind of getting the acapella and like making a beat, and because I had already like started a plain beat from there, and then we just ended up adding like the vocals. And ended up coming out really well. Andrew, thank God, Andrews took it. Andrews is a really great artist that's really, really supportive, especially of like Mexican artists or Latin artists. He's from Mexico too. So yeah, when I sent him the track, he's like, yeah, send it over. We can put it on a sampler. And yeah, that's kind of how it ended up. Most of house music nowadays is sample based. So I think like taking stuff that inspires you from like different songs and then like meshing them together with like your own beat, and then with like an acapella from here and like, I don't know, some vocals from like another track, like, and putting them together. I think that's kind of what is really inspired me to do at the moment. I've been looking a lot for like hip hop samples at the moment. So yeah. I really like Kendrick. I think Kendrick, I mean, that's so hard to think of right now.
Okay.
Right now, I've been like really focusing on looking for hip hop tracks to do like hip hop samples, to look for like hip hop samples. But I've also been listening to like a lot of 80s. So a lot of Sade, a lot of Wham. So yeah, I don't know. I think I would say anything from like Dr. Dre. I think, I think Dr. Dre is really good at anything and bringing up different artists. Pharrell to Snoop Dogg. I don't know. I think finding a mentor is like the best thing that I could have done last year. I think for a while I kept telling myself like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make music, or I would like sit down and try to learn Ableton or like learn how to lay down a simple beat, and it was just like so hard because you're not just like looking for a mentor to kind of teach you his process and like how he goes about to approaching music, but also the accountability. A mentor that's going to keep you accountable and that wants you to like succeed, right? And I think that's what I've found in my mentor. But yeah, and I think, and it's funny because my mentor says like, oh yeah, I have a lot more female clients right now, like girls that I mentor, because I don't know why it seems like men like don't want to ask for help sometimes. I find it hard. So, but I'm like, no, like you should not be ashamed. And I can tell because I was even afraid to like kind of ask for help. But I think definitely taking that step and like looking for someone that's gonna direct you in the right path, like that's definitely the next step to like get you where you want to be. Thank you. Shout out MIAFM. Thank you for having me, per usual. Yeah, listen to Permítame. It's out now on Andrus's label, on Droplow Records, and anything else for the rest of the year, I'll post on my socials.